Mr. Odd One's out, is it? That's correct. Great. Now, would you mind looking over here for me? You used to be getting an average of 60 to 80 million views per video. And over time, some of those videos have peaked over the 100 million view mark. It seems as if you were an unstoppable force in the YouTube animation scene. Now, tell me, what is your average views per video today? 5 to 10 million? 5 to 10? Well, I'm not stupid. These older videos have gone years and years to accumulate views, and these newer, less viewed ones are obviously fresh. What was your average views per video around 3 to 4 years ago? Around 20 to 40 million? Well, that's actually much better. But still, those videos are relatively newer. But is it fair to assume that a video that's already 3 to 4 years old is going to catch up with the others that they're following? I mean, a lot of these videos have gotten their views and have basically plateaued. And while the newer videos are still managing to get views over their first few years of being uploaded, as they're quite steadily in the top trending videos of the channel, but more commonly trending videos are the older ones. You know, the videos from back in 2017 to 18. They're the ones getting more views on a day-to-day basis now than the newer videos even from just months ago. Let's check if this is an anomaly with other animation channels out there before we start jumping to any conclusions. Thank you, Mr. Odd One. You're free to go now. Finally. This place is so boring. Okay then, rude. Let's see who's next. Is that, Jaden Animations? You're used to getting around how many views per video? Well, my average varied a lot. I would get videos up to 30 million views, and ones that got up to the 40s and sometimes even 60 millions of views. Oh wow, that's impressive. Can you tell me your averages now? Well, on the most recent of videos, as in the last year or so, I've been getting an average of 10 to 20 million, and just around 2 to 3 years ago, I was getting around the same, if not a little bit higher highs than 20 million. Oh, that's quite good, but still a decent drop off from the views from your previous highs. Seemingly following the same pattern as the Odd One's out. I wonder if there's some connection there. Well, that's all I need. Thank you, Jaden. You're all good to go. The two biggest animation channels to ever do it have been getting a noticeable drop-off in views. And they aren't the only ones witnessing this drop-off. Look at this. Hamanations, who's been going through his biggest peak in views only recently as he just started a few years back, and his newer videos from the past year aren't comparing to his older videos except for like 1 or 2 standouts. Ice Cream Sandwich, another relatively newer animation channel, getting a decently smaller amount of views than he was a few years ago. Let Me Explain Studios, significantly less views than they're used to getting, again, just a few years ago. Something Else YT, while he hasn't been posting much recently, and has been experimenting with new styles in the process, even a few years ago his videos were doing less than they were in 2018 and 19. And many more animation channels across all of YouTube have been going through this exact same problem. But how does this even happen? How are such old videos performing so well in today's time? And why are so many of the staples in the YouTube animation scene seeing a similar drop-off in views at almost the exact same time? Is it all just a coincidence? Yeah, probably. Well, I believe not. There's an actually good amount of evidence to prove that something in the world of YouTube animation is shifting, and it might not be for the better. But before we start diving into why these channels are seeing a drop-off seemingly without reason, we first have to explain how these older videos were and still continue to get such massive view counts. You know what else is massive? Nostalgia is what I wholeheartedly believe is getting these older videos most, if not all, of their views. I mean, just think about it. People are either reminded of them by the new videos, YouTube recommends the old videos, or people just remember the good old days when watching them and they search for them on their own accord. But this doesn't answer why these newer uploads aren't getting the same treatment. Sure, people get nostalgic and watch the old videos, but they don't watch the new, presumably better ones? Well, actually, that might just be the answer. Let me explain. Studios. You see, for a long time in the YouTube animation scene, and for all of YouTube for that matter, creators would do practically everything on their own. The scripting, the voiceover, the editing, the animation, the title, the thumbnail, everything was done by one person. And there's actually a whole term for this.
Yeah, I think before I had a team backing me up and I had to do everything, it was a lot. It's a lot of burnout.
It's the curse of many hats.
Something I'm actually quite familiar with, running a relatively small channel myself. Hitting the subscribe button would really help a lot, I appreciate it. This role gets very overwhelming after a while, and things like burnout become basically inevitable. And so people hiring things like editors or a thumbnail designer or even someone to help out with a script, some of us can't afford that, but you know, it's whatever, not like I care. When animation channels start hiring helpers for the animation side, aka the most time-consuming part of the YouTube animator process, sometimes the videos begin to feel a bit more processed in a way. which does have its pros and cons. I mean, check out these old Odd Ones Out videos and their editing style.
Fast food or retail job. Not to improve their work ethic or anything, but so that everyone knows what it's like to have that kind of job.
It's a lot more relaxed, with the only real animations being a blank character on a white background moving around with his hands or mouth once in a while. And if you look at the videos in today's style, the animations are so much more fluid and thorough, and practically every scene has an actual background attached to it, which James actually makes an entire video discussing. He actually made a video discussing the whole animation process from the inside perspective, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen because it's one of the most popular videos from this modern era. The only problem that I can imagine arising from having this fresh, more fluid animation style would be that loss of the nostalgia factor in these videos. Since they've been modernized, people don't watch them and feel that nostalgic emotion as they would if they watched a Subway video. And so, over the years, people tend to revisit the videos that feed the nostalgic emotion more so than the ones that don't. Even if these newer videos are practically better in every way, other than maybe the storytelling in some cases. As these animators have said time and time again, they are always striving to improve with every video, and they're seemingly doing that. But people who haven't been keeping up with these animators throughout the years don't immediately see or feel that growth. They aren't as connected to the actual animator or person behind the video, more so as they are connected with the feeling that they get from watching these videos. The nostalgia is so strong that it is basically impossible to not feed that feeling and watch some of the older videos. Although some factors can live on in these new modernized animations, like the same voices, the same characters, even if drawn slightly differently, and similar stories for the most part. Wait, doesn't this all feel too fast? The views back in, say, 2020 for practically all of these channels were around the same, if not super slightly less than what they were at the peak of the channel. But then we have this sudden drop-off over the last few years out of seemingly nowhere? I just can't see how that's possible. But I think I have the solution. You see, I think that 2020 was not only a massive part of this view fall-off, but it might have even been one of the bigger causes. Let me explain. 2020 had the obvious worldwide problem with the pandemic shutting everyone indoors for months. And because of this, a lot more people started using YouTube. We saw these huge boosts in views for gaming content and overall content across practically every niche, since everyone who enjoyed that type of content had more time to watch. But behind the wall of the lockdown, the true fans of animation content had been slowly decreasing behind the scenes, and was just masked for months and months and months. Once the lockdown was lifted and people started getting back to their regular lives, I mean as regular as you can after a once-in-a-century pandemic, they started watching YouTube less often since they had less free time, and those who only watched YouTube animation during the time seemed to disappear, which plummeted the average view count per video over the last 2 years. These numbers are just massively misleading. It wasn't as exponential of a drop-off as it seemed to look. And those are only two of the main reasons that I believe that these newer videos are getting less views than you'd expect. Another reason? Well, YouTube is a different place than it was back however many years ago. The MrBeastification of YouTube, if you will, has made animations a very difficult niche of content to remain consistent with. Unless you already have a decently major audience, it is very difficult to grow only by posting animations. And this has to do with two factors, retention and consistency. Let's start with retention. The MrBeastification, as I have just stated, is essentially, well, I think it's better if I just show you.
Behind me is an assassin! And if he stabs me with this rubber knife by the end of the day, he wins 100 grand. I recreated Willy Wonka's chocolate factory in real life.
I've gathered 50 of the biggest YouTubers on the planet.
This is a $1 billion super yacht, and it's big enough to hold an entire city on the water.
I think you get the point now. In the modern age of YouTube, if you were to post a video like this in 2024, beep, 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 I think it's safe to say that you would practically get 0 views. And that is for one grand reason. That would be this guy. Animation is undeniably more lenient towards a youngerish audience. I'm not saying that there can't be adult animations because there obviously are, nor am I saying that adults can't watch animations that might be leaned towards kids. But it is undeniable that a majority of people who watch animations, more specifically animation YouTubers, are more young leaning. I mean, for most of us, we watched these original animation YouTubers while we were kids. That's what's built to this nostalgia factor. To grow a new audience in today's age, with MrBeast and his many clones out there in search of the most retention-grabbing tips and tricks for their videos, there's a reason that these modern animations have more going on, so to say. Even if it is unlikely that the animator or the person behind the animation channel would prefer that they use these new tricks that they need to maintain a substantial and healthy growing YouTube channel, it's the meta to have more fast-paced scenes in your content, no matter your genre. And while this fast-paced mentality with videos does help with retention in most cases, it does, once again, hinder this overarching theme of nostalgia. But why does retention matter so much in modern YouTube? Well, that's a very good question, little Timmy. And I'm gonna go ahead and answer that for you, so why don't you just sit back down, okay? okay? Alright, so a couple years back, YouTube changed their algorithm to favor something called watch time. Now I'm sure a lot of you watching already know what watch time means, and how it affects a video. But for those who don't know, watch time is the amount of time that someone has watched a video for. Kind of self-explanatory. If someone watches a video for 10 minutes, that equals 10 minutes of watch time. If 2 people watch a video for 10 minutes, that's 20 minutes of watch time, and so on and so forth. This is favorable for a bunch of reasons, but the main one is the ability to have more ads play. I mean, it kind of makes a lot of sense. The more time that you spend on the platform, the more ads YouTube can play, and the more money that YouTube can make. That's why you see a lot of videos nowadays that are just around 8 minutes or longer. That's because YouTube allows videos that are over 8 minutes long to have mid-roll ads. And a video that has mid-roll ads makes so much more money than a video that would be under 8 minutes. The problem with this for animators is that making an animation that is over 8 minutes long is sometimes extremely time consuming, and is practically impossible when it comes to telling a single story in some cases. And getting a time-consuming video out in an orderly fashion every single time would lead to massive burnout, which is why you see a lot of animators taking weeks, if not months, between uploads, and a lot of the time for those uploads to not be over the 8-minute mark, since no matter how long an animation is, it will still take a long time to get done. This leads to that second point. Consistency. Being an animation channel and being consistent are two things that do not go hand in hand together. You would have to have a massive team to be able to upload often enough to keep up with the YouTube algorithm's wants and needs, but for a lot of even the bigger animators out there on YouTube, they just don't have that big of a team, and being inconsistent on YouTube can play a major role in the channel's inability to grow quick enough to stay on a steady pace of growth. Trust me, I would know. This whole shift to watch time being preferred by the algorithm is what led to a ginormous explosion of gaming content in YouTube back in 2016 to 17. And I think that ice cream sandwich actually explains it the best.
Turns out, little bit of a loophole, you can play 1 hour of Minecraft, cut it up into 6 10-minute videos, and post unbelievably large amounts of content. Way more than like a makeup YouTuber or skit YouTuber who has to like plan and skit and set up the camera.
It's so easy to make a lot of gaming content in such a short amount of time, and it is basically the complete opposite when it comes to animations, at least if you want to make good ones. And this leads to basically a never-ending battle with the algorithm. A fight for good retention, but with an inconsistent upload schedule. A fight for a good video, but at the loss of not only growing, but staying relevant. YouTube is forever a battle, and the niche that you choose to make can either make that battle slightly easier or significantly harder. And while animators are some of the most creative and important members of the YouTube community and have forever changed the platform, the world is just simply changing. And while animation will never die on YouTube, as some creators might want to say, the niche, and more so the genre, has certainly plateaued its reach. There will always be new iPad kids coming on the site every summer, and they will find these animators that we have come to know and love today. They will be watching these new and modern animations. But for every iPad kid first discovering an animator, there is a teen, or even an adult, whose interests have simply changed. But the nostalgia emitted by their childhood memories and connections will solidify YouTube animation forever. Thank you for watching.